Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Wallsend history story. Firstly, I would like to apologise as this isn't really what I would call a history story as such, but I have had a lot of family issues recently and have not had the same amount of time as normal to research and write, so I was looking for something that was quick, short and easy to write about. So I thought that I would do a little story about the remains of the Searchlight station down the Burn. So this is really just a collection of photos with me talking a little bit about them, but I hope that you will still enjoy it. I have to admit to sometimes calling the Searchlight station the Starlight station. I have no idea why I do that, so I do promise not to do it in this video, and I also promise to do a location live video of the Searchlight station next year when I have time to get down the Burn and film it, and also when it's a little bit warmer. Searchlight stations were used during the wars, both World War I and World War II. And as you can see from the photo on screen, though I am sure that most of you will know what they look like anyway, they would look a bit like a big lamp that would be shone into the sky. So basically like a spotlight, and they could also often be moved backwards and forwards. And from what I read, they were heavily used in the defence of the UK against German nighttime bombing raids involving Zeppelins, and many had a range of around 28 to 35 miles in a clear sky, but I'm not sure if ours was as powerful as that. Our Searchlight station down the Burn, or rather the remains, is accessible via this lovely bank. The photo isn't too clear, but it can be quite dark in amongst the trees, so my camera doesn't always focus. It is quite a steep bank and it's not always easy to walk up it, but if you are interested in this kind of thing, it's worth going up to have a proper look. To find it, you have to walk down the Burn from the Crowbank end and head along in the direction of the main path that leads from one end of the Burn to the other. And just past the Hall Grounds entrance, heading towards the Rose Inn, is a path that leads up the bank to where the old Wagonway Bridge remains can be found. Now the arrow, if you can see it on this photo, shows the direction where you would find the path, and then as you go halfway up you have to take a left into what can only be described as bushes, and then just keep walking up. It's not very easy to find, and if you don't know it's there, you'd certainly never find it by accident. And when I do the walking video next year, I will show you how to get up there much better, as I'm sure that my directions on here are not that good or very clear. And if you are thinking that the photo looks a little bit strange, this was because I had to try and edit someone out of the middle of it. The first time that I went up to the Searchlight station, it was quite easy to see the remains. The photos on screen at the moment show two different angles of what was still there then. These photos were taken quite a few years ago. The surround was half buried in the undergrowth, but the main central part was very visible. Since then, of course, nature has taken over the area quite a lot, as it does in a lot of places, and part of the remains were almost impossible to see on a more recent visit, as you can see from this last photo where they are mostly covered with weeds, brambles and moss. And the trees have also grown inside the structure, and it certainly gives it a very abandoned feel. Of course, it's only the stone parts that remain, as the other equipment was classed as portable and would have been removed many years ago. In 1927, it seems a practice exercise took place using the Wallsend Searchlight station along with 4 others in the area that were positioned at Tynemouth, Balkwell, Monkseaton and Backworth. However, it seems that news got out to the public about the exercise. It was printed in the papers a couple of days before it took place, and huge crowds gathered at the various stations to watch what was going on. And although it was seen as a mostly successful mission, it was stated that the noise made by the crowds watching had hampered the men working the lights, as they relied on sound as much as the lights, and on occasions they had not been able to locate the so-called enemy planes. So I guess it was a good job that it was only an exercise and not the real thing. And it was said that after the exercise, the men at Wallsend camped at the Searchlight station overnight before removing the mobile lights the following day. And the Searchlight station is positioned quite near a very steep bank that runs down to the stream below, so I hope that no one rolled over in the night and disappeared. Another mention I found about the Searchlight station was from 1939. It was discussing most of the local ones, not specifically the Wallsend one, which discussed the fact that many of these stations were not connected by telephone, so those manning them may have had to use public call boxes to report back details of any enemy activity. It was said that this might cause some inconvenience to locals wishing to use call boxes, and that it would also delay the reporting of anything that was sighted by the searchlights. But I do assume that over time they found a better and quicker way to do things. And I did also wonder if our Wallsend station did have a phone, as I don't know where the nearest call box would have been from the burn, but it would have been quite a long way to go if you needed to report something quickly. The last 2 photos that you can see on screen are simply just one showing the surrounds, or rather part of it, that went round the entire structure. Most of this is lost to the undergrowth, and there's really only a few little bits, and this is the clearest part that you can see. And finally, this last photo shows a closer view of one of the trees growing inside part of the structure. From the size of the tree, you can see that it's been there for many, many years, and I guess over time it will eventually pull the stones apart. It is sad, but this isn't listed or anything like that. It's just a relic from the war years. So, as said earlier, this really is just a short video, but I do hope that you have still found it interesting and enjoyed looking at the photos. I do hope to have more time to write a much more in-depth story about some Wallsend history subject next week. And I do thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again very soon.